Hey guys, wanted to try to make a short video here. Try to keep it short. Uh, this is from USA Today article that, as you can see, was put out June 25th. Very interesting. Is America headed toward a civil war? With some of the recent events with the Red Hen restaurant with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, as you know, is the press secretary, and she was, thrown out of the restaurant and all of that for just being a Trump supporter, nothing more. And then Maxine Waters and her whole rhetoric of, if you see somebody from Trump's cabinet, start a crowd, push back, all this stuff inciting violence. Even going as far as, well, we've seen Kathy Griffin and her whole deal, with the photos holding the president's head out there, decapitation and all that. Peter Fonda calling for Trump's son, Barron, to be locked in a cage with pedophiles, and all this mess. A lot of people are thinking we're either in or very shortly going to be in a civil war. The way I personally see it is this is kind of like the Cold War. A lot of talk, but not a whole lot of really large, decisive moves on either part. But with that being said, anything could make this really kick off. But the one thing I think that's stopping it, for the time being anyway, is it's only happening in certain areas. So it's not affecting every single American right away. I mean, yes, we see a lot of the stuff that I've streamed and others, the riots in certain cities and all the other violence, but it's not at each one of our doorstep. There is places that you can run and get away from it type of thing. Moving, going to a new location is still a possibility. But I'm afraid that in the not too distant future that we could run out of places to go, so to speak. That this could end up at everybody's doorstep. So I think, if you haven't prepared for it at all, I would advise it now before, it's not too late. Kind of the mindset of, you get the forecast from the weatherman, and he says on a Monday, and he says, well, there's a potential for a huge, snowstorm on Friday. Well, a lot of people sit around and they'll wait and to hear the forecast Thursday night and find out, oh man, this storm really is coming. Now we run to the store and for bread, milk, that kind of thing, and there's very little of it on the shelves. It's gone. So we're kind of in the early part of that week. Is the storm going to happen for sure? Maybe, maybe not. But it does not hurt in the least to go now, get the things you need just in case. Because now if you go, the items that you need are still there. They're available. And you won't have too much issues getting what you need. Go home and just sit back and let the other, parts of the community kind of fend for it, fight out for every last little thing they need, while you've already got your supplies and you're safe at home and don't have to worry too much. So with that being said, I advise everybody to, you got to stay legal, obviously. That's one key thing. But as far as firearms go, I highly advise, to get what you can. I mean, yes, ideally it's a sidearm, a rifle, and, a shotgun. Those are the three key things. Now, what types and all of that, that's pretty subjective and up to the individual. And I would advise having a good store of ammo. How much, again, that is subjective. But I would set a number. Think of a number for each, not each caliber necessarily, but for each individual firearm. Because if you've got, let's say, 3 9mm handguns, Well, you want a certain amount of ammo for each one of those firearms, not a collective, because if you just put out, let's say, X amount of rounds, well, if you're going to arm, yourself and two others, then that ammo is going to go by 3 times as quick. So you got to have a certain amount for each individual firearm. And like I say, that's all subjective on your own personal needs. But I would also advise, this is something I don't hear mentioned very often, but and that's a good police scanner. Those can be quite handy, whether it's a house model or a portable model. They are expensive, but if you have the means to do so, I would advise one of each. A good base model for the house, but also a portable, because you might not always be at the house, and it's good to keep up on, anything that could happen in your particular area. Plus, one of the advantages, if you've got a base model, it's permanently fixed. You get a decent outdoor antenna if you can, and you can pick up things from a little farther distance. The reason I say that is, if there is any kind of social unrest or an event, there is a chance you could actually pick it up on the radios. Yes, there's a lot of encryptions and this and that, but still I think it's a good idea to have, the ability to have the communications. Now, yes, there's a lot of apps and stuff you can get, which are handy for monitoring other cities. That's good as well. But for your own area, a good scanner is something I always advise. And there's a website that I'll put in the description. It's a Radio Reference, and that's the one that I particularly use. They run Broadcastify and things of that sort. But if you go there, you can find out. The forum's real handy. Find out what you would need for your area, because not all scanners are not a one-size-fits-all. Depends on where you're at. But they can get you all squared away and figured out as far as that goes. But being able to defend yourself and your family is of utmost importance, but communication is also valid. Not only being able to communicate to others, but just being able to monitor communications around you. Because if there is some sort of unrest, or even if an event takes place that could spark an unrest. Let's say, there's a shooting, an officer-involved shooting. Then you never know. We've seen it more times than not of how quick this stuff can escalate into a violent situation. But, getting a little off topic there, but nevertheless, it's always good to know what is going on. And as far as the news media is concerned, a lot of people say boycott the news. Well, I don't go that far. Now, if you're watching the news and it comes to a point to where you're believing everything that you're hearing, then yes, turn it off. But one thing I like to do is, there's some breaking news things out on Twitter. Those are good to subscribe to or follow or whatever. But as far as your mainstream media, sure, if you want to watch whatever news agency you feel like, that's fine. But the way I like to do it a lot of times is turn it on, mute it. Don't even listen to the commentators. Just read what scrolls across the bottom of the screen, the ticker. If a topic catches your attention and seems of some kind of an importance to you, then look it up. Get online, research. We've got the world at our fingertips. There's no reason we need to be spoon-fed anything. It's nice to be alerted of an event, whether it's President Trump signing an order for one thing or another, or Supreme Court rules this or that, or so-and-so wins a primary election, or whatever the case is. If something seems like it pertains to you, or something you would like to, know more about, don't let the talking heads, fill you in, because they're going to give you a one-sided opinion, and that's never good. So look it up, research it, come to your own conclusion. That's the best way to do it. Kind of do your own research. Don't always rely on someone else to do it for you. It goes back to the whole firearms thing, you know. Protect yourself. Don't expect someone else to always be there to do it for you. Or, yes, you can call the authorities, but they're going to be there just like a cleanup crew. No fault of their own. It's just not going to be possible for them to get there to solve every situation. They can't. So we need to definitely pay attention. And if you're out in public, I'm not saying to be paranoid, but if you have a carry permit and the ability to do so, carry, definitely. But let's say you go to a restaurant to eat. Make sure, this is something I always do, make sure you never have your back to the door. That way you can see who's coming and going. You can see what's, going on. It's always good to know that who's coming in and leaving, no matter where you're at. As we've seen, before, people come in, they want to harass different people, and you never know. And there's so many people out there that, are waiting. It's kind of like our Revolutionary War. Both sides stood there, and nobody wanted to fire the first shot, but after a while, everybody was hoping somebody would. They wanted to get it started, because until it's full on and gets going, it'll never end. They can drag this out for practically forever. So what will it take to spark it? I really don't know, but the more and more places that conservatives, your libertarian, constitutionalist, whatever label you want to put on it, the more and more places that we're refused to be in, the less places we can go. It kind of goes back to the civil rights movement to a degree. There was both sides of the aisle and both arguments I'm not going to really get into, but what caused the pushback? It went on for quite a while, and there was very little pushback because one side or another always had plenty of places that they could go. They had their own this or that. But after a while, those places that they could go became less and less, until it came to a point of they had nowhere to go. So that's the way it's going with the conservatives here. We're running out of places that we can go without feeling, where we don't have to listen to the other side's rhetoric, so to speak. We used to have plenty of kind of conservative places where anybody could go, but to where that was the tone, and it was just kind of an escape from all the leftist, liberal nonsense that we hear on a daily basis. But now, there's virtually nowhere you can go to escape it. And like I say, we're running out of places. The left has taken over every aspect. They've got media, whether it's the news, print media, social media, it's everywhere. And, we're supposed to have a reasonable conversation with these people. It's impossible. We've tried to have reasonable conversations on many issues, and they never work. All they want to do is for us to give, and they never give a thing. So the time for giving is over. I mean, it's done. Stand your ground. Protect you and your family and your communities. Do the best you absolutely can. Stay within the law as much. I'm not advocating for anybody to break the law. Don't start anything, but, there's no sense in any of us sitting back taking it either. So, leave your comments down below what you think about, are we in a civil war, a Cold War type scenario, and what do you think will be the straw that breaks the camel's back, so to speak? If anybody has any ideas of what you think it would take to, actually kick off a full-on civil war, put your opinion down in, like I said, in the comments. I will link this USA Today article as a pinned comment, and I'll also put the radio reference link in case you're interested about the scanners and all of that. Please, if you could, like, favor, share, all that stuff. Ring the bell icon. Stay subscribed or get subscribed if you're not already. I always appreciate it. And I will catch you guys on the next video or live stream, whatever happens to come up first. Take it easy, guys.